And the meeting that we went to was not kissing the ring or bending the knee or all your other ridiculous headlines.
No, we went down to talk to the president-elect. And people wrote articles that were just false. But you know what we did? We did the corporate thing. Corporate said, don't say anything. Just keep your head down. What did the Royals say? Never explain, never complain, whatever. We did that. We enjoyed our Thanksgiving. We're like, you know what? People are upset with some of our guests, some of our friends. Maybe we snuck up on them too fast. Maybe we should have given them more of a warning. Whatever, it's fine. But guess what? The main complaint was that we called Donald Trump's rhetoric fascist during the campaign. And then we went down to have an off-the-record comment with him. Guess who else does that?
Let me see. From the New York Times,
the New York
Washington
Times,
Post, the Wall Street. You know what? I even think folks from the Atlantic.
I think actually,
I think they might
probably
be doing that.
If they have a chance to talk on the background with the incoming president and president-elect, they would do it. In fact, as somebody wrote during this outrageously stupid, immature series of articles that lied time and time again about us, reporter said, well, I'd be fired if I had the opportunity to go in and talk to somebody who's the incoming president of the United States, and I didn't do it. Ask any journalist at the New York Times, the New York Post. And that's the funny thing. People at the Washington Post especially, hair on fire, media report, how dare they, how dare they? At the same time that the Washington Post is doing the same thing, trying to speak to the president on background, trying to speak to people around the president. That's what reporters do. And by the way, guess what? That's what I've been doing for years. When I go speak to Middle East leaders on background, some who are not good people, guess what? I do it to get information and background to give it to you. I bet you didn't know, because I didn't tell you, because it was a background conversation. When I went to Élysée Palace last summer and I spoke to Macron for about an hour in his office about Ukraine, about the EU, about the ability of NATO, about his problems with the United States. I did that, but I didn't report it. Right. The only difference between what we did on that visit and what the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, everybody else is doing is we were transparent. We actually told you. And so I understand if you don't know how the media works day in and day out, and you're just like watching this show day in and day out, I understand you'd be like, wow, okay, man, that's sudden. But for media reporters to lie, to pretend that this is a shock, to try to get clips, for Washington Post reporters and columnists say, how dare they go see him after they said he was a fascist? And that's exactly what the Washington Post is doing. That's exactly what the Wall Street Journal is doing. That's exactly what the New York Times. Yeah, you know what you call it? You call it their job. And let me say this. Two things. You can do two things at the same time. You can say he had fascist rhetoric and still go in and talk to him. Yeah. You know why I do that? To get the read of the man. You know why I went in and talked to Macron? To get the read of the man at a crucial time in EU funding and NATO funding. You know why I went to leaders in the Middle East who were angry at the United States, and I sat there and I listened to them attacking me personally for 45 minutes because of U.S. policy? You know why I do that? To get the read of the leader, to get the read of where the country's going. So I can come back here and talk to you and let you know what the hell is going on.
With context and
insight. Give you context, insight, and background. You know everybody we have on the show that's a reporter? It's what they do every day. They speak on background. Now listen, David Frum, I'm going to say this again. I love David Frum. He's a dear friend of mine. I can even see why David felt blindsided by what we did. And you know what? That's a call we do. But we do a 4-hour show, right? And it's going in real time. I had to make that editorial call over the course of about 5-10 minutes. I couldn't sit in the Atlantic office and go, let's see, no, let's change this word here. Let's change that word. No, I couldn't do that because that's not the business that we're in here. So first of all, a couple things. I want to apologize to David Frum for making him feel uncomfortable. And I wish David would have come on the show today. He said he will come on Friday. I'm going to be in Little Rock interviewing Bill Clinton, so I can't do it. By the way, guess what? Bill Clinton may tell me something on the background that's going to give me insight on where the Democratic Party is going or where it needs to go. I may not be able to quote that on the record, but I will bring it to you, and you will be smarter because of it. You will be smarter, and you have been over the last several weeks because of what we talked about with Donald Trump for an hour, hour and a half. We got information on where they're going, and I do report that, just like great reporters at the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, just like they do it. And again, yet to talk to a journalist said, oh, you shouldn't talk to the president on background. And again, the complaint that we said he was a fascist, that he talked like a fascist. Yeah, he did during the campaign. Guess what?
And we're watching.
Guess what? That means it's even more important we go there. That means it's even more important we go talk to people in the Middle East, or people in Europe, people we disagree with. That's part of our jobs, and we don't do it for ourselves. We do it for you. And one final thing, Mika.
Yeah.
David told me something else. David Frum yesterday, and I really do hope he'll. I actually texted him last night and said, hey, listen, we're not on Friday, but please, if you can come on anytime today, please come on. We really like him. We love the guy. He means the world to us. And I'm so sorry he's the guy that was kind of caught in the middle of this. I wish it had been somebody we don't like and love and respect so much. But he said something, and I've wanted to talk about it for a couple of weeks. But again, I understand the front office. They're like, let's just be quiet. Let's just keep this down.
Yeah, I get that.
And I was like, okay, I get it.
We saw it.
We'll go through Thanksgiving, enjoy being with our families, let it go. And it was dying until this. But David said, I guess, Joe, one of the things that concerns us is that if you have fear, like, what does that say about the rest of us? Well, a couple things. First of all, this is what's so crazy in this sort of era we're in, where Democrats are shooting at each other. Republicans who were never Trumpers are shooting at each other instead of coming together and not giving up the ship together. Everybody's like firing. It's your fault. It's not your fault. Democrats lost by 1.5. The House is tied. The Senate is almost tied. But he said, if you're fearful, what does that mean for the rest of us? Well, listen, we're not thrilled with these nominees. We think that a lot of them are just absolutely horrible. Kash Patel, he's promised to arrest journalists. That's a problem. But let me tell you something. I wasn't fearful in Congress when Newt Gingrich and leadership said they were going to destroy me, run people against me. I said, go ahead, make my day. Wasn't fearful on this show. Nobody in the front office. By the way, I always have Republicans say, oh, they're telling you exactly what to say in the front. No, itself. So I wanted to say that this morning, and really what triggered it more than anything else was David's concern, a guy who we love and who loves us. David's concern that we did something because we were fearful. First of all, we weren't talking about Donald Trump. We were talking about Fox News.
Right.
Secondly, if we get to a state in our media culture where civility is confused for fear, if by simply saying, hey, let's not say that about an entire network, and that somehow will equate you to Vichy France, then we're in trouble. And again, let me underline this. David meant nothing by it. It was just a throwaway line. It was just a throwaway joke. And I do hope he comes on the show to talk about it. But
or other things.
I got to say, Mika, at this point, I'm sick and tired of the nonsense. And I wish we'd all just get to work doing the things we need to do, which is our job. Right. Which is talking to people who are going to determine where this country goes over the next 4 years, and to do the reporting and have the people that will come on, as we have done with Matt Gaetz, as we have done with Pete Hegseth, as we have done with Tulsi Gabbard, and as we will do for the next 4 years. That's what we need to do. That's what we've been doing. That's what we're going to do. So maybe, just maybe, everybody can catch their breath, stop freaking out about a loss of like 1 percentage point, and stop having this circling firing squad that we see the Democratic Party in, and this media sphere, where people are just trying to get clicks.
Well, and to that point, 2 minor points, and that is, again, the meeting that we went to was not kissing the ring or bending the knee or all your other ridiculous headlines. It was a serious meeting, and quite frankly, if we hadn't told anyone about it, if we hadn't shared it with our viewers to be transparent, and that was our call because it was a meeting on background, nobody would have known about it. Nobody would have. We weren't flouncing in there and doing a big show of it. This was a private meeting on background. Well, one more thing. To those that you were talking about here who were still kind of pushing this narrative and saying this article is so sad and, oh my God, fear has taken over. Good job. Good job. Because you're so stuck in your hatred. You're so stuck in your hatred mode that you can't see that you are doing exactly what negative forces at play here want, which is causing us to fight. We should not be fighting for doing our jobs, for doing what the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the Atlantic, they are doing right now. And if they are not meeting with the president-elect and talking to him, then they are not doing their jobs. We know they are.
They are. They're talking to him. And again, I just want to say again, and this is not to media reporters who know what they're doing. They're lying, and they're lying to get clicks. They understand exactly what people at their own newspapers are doing, which is the same thing we're doing. This is actually about the fact that the New York Times is talking to Trump, meeting with Trump, talking to people around Trump, meeting with them after calling him a fascist. The Wall Street Journal is doing it. The Washington Post is doing it. CNN is doing it. CNN is doing it. Do we judge CNN for doing it? No. You know why? It's their jobs. Grow up. It's their jobs. The only thing we did that caused this Twitter storm is we told you. Now, if you'd prefer that we don't tell you everything that we do, that's fine. But we just thought in this case, transparency was best.